If you're a teacher in a Title I school, you need to know about First Book Marketplace. I've heard about it in passing so many times, and this week I decided to dive in and figure out how it works so I could tell you. And boy, does it work. Today, I just want to walk you through how this site functions so that you can start taking advantage of its many resources as soon as possible. Now, if you're not a teacher in a Title I school and you're also trying to find resources to support your wonderful wish to bring incredible books to your students, I'm going to refer you back to episode 56, The Do's and Don'ts of DonorsChoose, where I'll walk you through the best way to get funding through that site. But for now, let's dig into First Book Marketplace and how you can get started with it right away. Welcome to the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers looking for more creativity, more engagement, more joy, and no more scripted curriculum, lesson planning ruts, or boring book lists. I'm Betsy Potash, and I'm honored you're trusting me to help. You're not alone on this creative journey anymore. Okay, so let's start with First Book Marketplace's mission. If you want to join First Book Marketplace, there's just a couple of qualifiers, okay? So their goal is to help students who are in underfunded locations. This is what they have to say on their website when you go to register. First Book is a nonprofit social enterprise committed to ensuring educational equity by eliminating barriers to education for children living in under-resourced communities. All those who work with children in need can join us. If you work or volunteer in a Title I eligible school, early childhood program, after-school program, literacy program, etc., where at least 70% of kids served come from low-income families, you are eligible to become a First Book member. Sign up is free and it takes about 5 minutes. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes to the registration page. If you want to go through this simple process, it allows you to shop through their catalog and basically be a customer. You have to register to be a customer because they want their books going to school locations where it is harder to get books. It's a lovely mission. Okay. Next up, why would you want to join First Book Marketplace? There are a lot of ways to get books. Obviously, you can use DonorsChoose. You can build an Amazon wish list. You can go to rummage sales. You can go to 50% off sales at huge book publishing houses. But the nice thing about First Book is that they partner with publishing companies and different corporations to provide really deeply discounted books for your classroom. And that's what they do. That's their mission, right? They're there to help you get cheap books so that your students can read. Most places that you're going to get books for the classroom are focused on all kinds of different things, selling books to people to read themselves, selling books for their own purposes, right? The goal here is to fund books for students who need books, which is pretty cool. You can get individual books for your choice reading library, and sometimes you can also find whole text sets for literature circles, which I'll get into in a second. So I spent some time shopping around just to give you a sense of what you could find. And here are just like a couple of examples. So these are popular books that I often see teachers wanting for their class. Darius the Great is Not Okay is $4.05. Amari and the Great Game, $4.10. Starfish, $4.05. American Born Chinese, $5.10. I Must Betray You, $5.25. I could keep going. I have a whole list. But the point is, it's just a lot cheaper. And you don't have to wait for some big sale. It's just always a lot cheaper. Now, when you go into search, there's a lot of different ways to search. You can browse titles by the age of your student. They have it broken down into, I think, 3-year kind of mini brackets, which can be really helpful. You can also go into the search bar at the top and pop in an author like Jason Reynolds or Gareth Hines. I was really impressed. I had scrolled through a ton of pages of the browse by age category, sort of trying to see how many were popular authors and the kinds of books I would want to put in a classroom library. And I found a lot, but then when I started just actively searching for the kinds of authors I wanted, I found a lot more. So just sort of basic browsing, for example, had led me to like 2 Jason Reynolds books, and one of them was in Spanish. But when I put in Jason Reynolds' name at the top, I realized they basically had everything that he had written in both English and some in Spanish. And so that's a good way to go. If you know you're looking for a certain author, you can put it in the search bar. But if you're kind of browsing and you want to be surprised and get ideas, going into the age bracket can be really nice. By the way, since I mentioned Gareth Hines as somebody you could search, I was really impressed to see Gareth Hines' graphic novel versions of quite a lot of classics available on First Book in like the $6 or $7 range, which is really great for a graphic novel, right? This is a super art-heavy, colored ink graphic novel that's long, and it's like $6.25 or $6.50. That's awesome. Another way you can search is to go into their different categories under books. You can search like graphic novels and comics or fantasy and sci-fi. You can look at the best of the year. So there's kind of an embedded curation tool there, which can be helpful to you. If you know your students are loving fantasy and you want ideas, you can go in and see like what fantasy books on First Book are available for less expensive prices. Okay, there's another section besides just the general book search, which is called the book bank. And this is an area of the site that's potentially really helpful, but it's kind of hit or miss, so I wanted to explain it. At least, from my limited perspective, I'm not an expert who works for First Bank, but here's what I understand. Inside the book bank, it seems like you find donated books that are available to educators who can just cover the shipping. So basically, you might find a carton of books there, maybe 40 copies of a book, and you're just going to be paying for the shipping. So this is obviously like deeply discounted. Now, that's fantastic. There's the flip side, which is that there may be a reason that the book publisher is donating 40 crates of 40 books a piece. Maybe it wasn't as popular of a text. And so I think you have to really search to try to find something that could be useful to you, like as a component in literature circles, for example. I browsed through like 6 pages of these. I found a carton of 20 of Rick Riordan's book, Daughter of the Deep, for $14. So it's less than $1 a book. So if you're in search of literature circles choices and you have kind of a flexible mindset about it, searching through now and then could be really helpful because, you don't know what somebody might donate or what a publisher might have made too many copies of and decide to donate to First Book. It's really cheap. Okay, last thing I want to mention is that sometimes it seems like First Book is working with like an independent corporate sponsor, kind of like how DonorsChoose sometimes does, where the corporate sponsor is like, I'm just going to help any teacher who wants to buy books this week. I'm going to give everybody 50% off or whatever. When I was on the site last week, there was a little fun bar with a coupon code, and the coupon code was giving anybody who was shopping there 50% off of up to $500 worth of books. And so I think it was sponsored by Pizza Hut, and they just wanted to match cost for teachers until that funding ran out. And now I went back to look this week and that funding has run out. But still, knowing that exists, if you have like a cart full of books and you check back once a week or whatever, maybe you'll stumble upon the ability to get all those books 50% off or 30% off or $100 off coupon or whatever. I don't know exactly what all their different deals are. But if it's similar to DonorsChoose, as it appears to be, sometimes they have these partnerships who want to help kids get books, which is lovely. And that can be a huge benefit to you and your school. Okay, so looking at this overall, I just really think if you work at a Title I school, you're going to want to register for First Book Marketplace and just bookmark it on your computer. And every once in a while, if you have a little bit of budget or a little bit of time and you want to go on and just put some things in your cart, hover a little, see what's going on in the book bank, see if there's like a matching sponsorship going on. You could really build up your collection faster using First Book. than using sort of a standard bookstore because everything is just so much cheaper. It's a lovely resource. It's a wonderful mission. Thanks so much for joining me today for this quick introduction to the wonderful site, First Book Marketplace. I hope you're going to go register, and I am going to put the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay creative.